Hey there, Dodger Game Channel and Foreman Truth Channel watchers. I would like to apologize for the fact that those of you who are anticipating the live session at lunchtime on Do We as Mormons Secretly Honor Lucifer in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Satanism? So we're not able to hear the broadcast, and the reason for that is apparently the ability for me to go live on YouTube was blocked, and it was blocked by the actions of Haleigh Everts. Thank you, Haleigh. Haleigh has accused me of copyright infringement, which I feel is fraudulent because of the fair use on YouTube, for instance, which we find here. If your work is for educational purposes, then use of copyrighted material falls under the fair use provision, which allows reasonable use of copyrighted work without permission for research, criticism, or education. Mind you, I was not critical of Haleigh at all. I was very complimentary, actually. Gave her a lot of praise and credit for what I felt was honesty in her part. And it says basically the problem on YouTube tends to be playing copyrighted music, you know. But even they won't get your stuff knocked off to that bad. They just might, block it. But she got my video taken down and got a strike against me, making it so I can't even do live broadcasts right now. So either I wait 90 days or she backs off on that, or I submit my paperwork to get it back on there, and then she has to take me to court, where I think she would lose based on what I've read, since I was well within the definition of fair use. Not to mention the fact that I was super nice to her, which doesn't have to be part of which isn't stated in here as any kind of a requirement. But yes, it was educational. It was about the temple, and she brought up certain things, and I happen to know a few things that she doesn't about the history of the endowment and so forth, which I shared. And sorry, people. It's a 90-day problem if you've got a strike, and then, of course, you can get shut down. So I probably have to do something to get it off. So if I file the paperwork, then, she'd have to take me to court, and I'm pretty sure she's going to lose. However, she just said in her most recent video that they're on welfare and $200,000 in the hole or something because her husband's in chiropractic school. So I don't know why she's starting these fights with me, because, I have entreated her to peace. I've put out the olive leaf here to Haleigh multiple times now, and she hasn't responded. I've said, please contact me, let's talk about it. I don't know how I've offended you. What I've done is legal, and you're causing me a lot of trouble. Why? Let's talk about it. But he hasn't responded at all. Not one bit. So I want to just go ahead and take a look at this then, and then I'll get into my other next broadcast. I'm doing this, I have to go through the editing software, eat up all the phone memory, and take all this extra time, thanks to Haleigh. And I have no idea what she was offended with, because I was extremely complimentary. For those of you that saw the video, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, some people said, oh, she's, this and that, and I said, I think she's just innocent and just doesn't know a few things, because one of them here is, here's the one she's took. This wasn't the one, by the way. I have done this one, and I've suspended having it on there right now because I need to get this resolved. I don't want to turn this into even more of a mess. Yeah, so let's this is interesting, and I think there's some worthwhile material on here because it deals with Mormonism, and Maybe the mind control she must be under. So she was really, it was very interesting. She's outspoken, even though she's not that well informed on Mormonism. She's been to the temple, I guess recently. Sounded like, I don't know how long it's been since she first started going, but she's an enthusiast, doesn't know much about the temple, since the endowments changed a lot now in the last, well, it's changed a couple times. Things have changed a lot, and those are things I brought up in the video. I think I did a pretty nice video, but since I did it live broadcast, yeah, she's really screwed me over on this. And I thought, well, she's a nice girl, she'll be willing to, let's fix this up, but she hasn't even responded. So let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at the banter here. I'll take a look at, am I in her channel here? Am I doing this right? Here we are. So we're in her channel. And so one of her more popular videos was one that I looked at, because she's been really outspoken on some things, and she's in danger of getting, I think she's in danger of getting in a lot of trouble with the church because of some of the things that she's saying. I can't believe her husband isn't upset about the things that she says openly about herself and their relationship, but she's chosen to say things that don't seem very wise. Going over here, so her biggest, most popular one here, I discovered her because of the temple one was shared with me, or the idea was shared with one of my viewers here, Rem, who wanted to have a video on it, and I consequently looked at several things she had up there. Why I quit being Mormon, etc., and then came back. So in here she talks about things, and she said, she decided to quit coming to church. She went to BYU, and I don't know, people told her she shouldn't stay with her non-member boyfriend because she, wasn't going to have a celestial marriage with him or anything. So she just said she bailed the church. Then she starts talking about how she just decided to say forget it to Mormonism, and then she gets into some details with her life that most people wouldn't want to admit. And then she says she goes from being quote unquote a little hooker to barely even making out with her fiance, and then getting married pretty quickly, and then talking to the bishop and getting into the temple within 6 months. So she's all enthused about repenting and making her life what she considers purer and better, after she said other things like, I got used by lots of men and I did lots of disgusting things, really, really disgusting things. Really denigrates herself. And all I've done is say, hey, she's a nice girl, and I'm glad that she's, honest about things, because she started kind of noticing some things about the word of wisdom that were really hypocritical, and so she talked about that in this video here. But then, after all that, I guess we'll have to endure her commercial thing here. It's a business opportunity for her. Yeah, I don't know if you saw the stuff in there, in the thumbnail, but she's talking about, pet peeves she's got with the church. So she notices the hypocrisy of the word of wisdom. You can't drink coffee, but you can pound Monster Energy drinks and rock stars and eat tons of meat, and the church doesn't care, and the temple recommend interviews about those. So I elaborated a little bit about that, and of course I mentioned that they are into the cattle ranching and the sugar business, because she mentioned how, they had an invite, all the sugar and cupcakes and all these, nutritionally negative things that they've used at young women's or some kind of girls' activity. I think she said she's in a young women's presidency. But then she gets into modesty. Okay, you see her nice little low-cut shirt there. So she says, well, that's totally cool. And the only reason that we have to dress modestly is to cover our garments. So it doesn't apply to young women. And she's sure as heck not going to have her girls grow up being modest by the church standards. And she says it's totally unnecessary. She disagrees with it. It's not a girl's problem that she can dress as seductively. She didn't use the word seductive. She says she herself likes to look sexy, and doesn't know why people don't think that she looks Mormon. But she said we don't need to keep the modesty standards, essentially. At least that's what it sounded like to me. She said, these shorts to the knees, they're irrelevant, or her garments come up higher than that. It's got nothing to do with anything but garments. If girls want to wear tight skirts that are short in sacrament, it's the men's problem if they look. It's their fault. It's not, our modesty standards have nothing to do with not getting men turned on, she said. She's pretty open about things. I have to say that that's not what we learned in priesthood. We were told don't let the girls out of the house looking provocative, and we have certain standards, which, they had, and I don't know, sleeveless, or I'm not sure where the measurement is on low cut or high cut for shorts or dresses or whatever, but she says basically, hey, you can dress as sexy as you want in church, and if a man has a problem with it, as long as your garments are covered, and if you aren't old enough for garments, I guess the sky's the limit. I don't know. Other than the fact that she said you don't want to dress like a total skank. Not sure where she draws the line on skank, but she didn't actually define that. So, to me and some of the viewers, some of my stuff, they've said things like, she's walking on shaky ground here. And I think so, because she's basically said that we don't, as parents need to encourage our youngsters to be modest. It's only to do with garments, and that's the whole thing, and we don't have to follow their stuff. She said leggings are fine. Well, maybe they are, but the words tight-fitting sound awfully familiar to me in terms of modesty standards and avoiding things that were super form-fitting or that sort of a thing. But anyway, that's one of her pet peeves. We don't need to be modest. We only need to cover our garments. The garment's covered. It's good. If you don't wear them, like I said, the word skank is that's where she drew the line from what I could get from this. So I tried to be as honest as I could, and I've just said nice things, about her noticing hypocrisy with certain things. She had other issues of judging people, although perhaps she judged people that were drinking soda pop with lots of caffeine in it. She's into health and, holistic wellness, that's kind of a stuff, which tends to be people that I get along with pretty well, because I've always been that kind of way. But anyway, I let her know that I had produced stuff and featured her and reviewed her video, and this is how she responded, by filing copyright infringement, which I believe is fraudulent. So that's why you didn't get the broadcast. Thanks, Haleigh. And she hasn't responded, like I said. So, as promised, here's my video. So I sent her copies. Take a look. She's never communicated. A president of the church is a senior apostle. You have a board of directors masquerading as holy men. All right. And that probably didn't have a whole lot to do with that particular one there. But I want to show a couple of these others that I have shared with her. Now, most recently, so once I got her notice, I also let her know, Haleigh, I misspelled it here, I've contacted you, and once again you have ignored me regarding your your copyright infringement claim against me. As per the rules and the fair use, not to mention the fact that I've been extremely complimentary of you and defended your character here, I'm placing, and except for the copyright exemption here for fair use. And once again, I'm extending an invitation to you to talk with me and discuss your issues in a civil manner, or, you know, before I'm forced to file paperwork and escalate this issue, as you have attacked my YouTube channel. And the person giving me I've gotten a strike now for copyright infringement, which is based on fraud, on your fraudulent accusation here. So anyway, so I've explained that to her. She's just not responding. You claim to be a good Mormon, not a perfect one. You claim to have integrity and to be honest, which I have been defending, even though I've notified by one of my viewers of your content and asked me to review it, considering what you've done to be extremely opposite what is stated in the Sermon on the Mount. You know, like settling things up, agree with thine adversary before you wind up in court or something. Anyway, so I said, you know, I really don't have to be so nice. I can publish something, and even in the meantime, I'll just quote her myself and say, you know, so then I did it again on today's, and said, hey, you know, you haven't responded, and I don't want to cause you court costs and stuff like that, or me at this point. I'm trying to be nice, but here, still I've got no response from her. And here on this video, she's complaining that they're on welfare while her husband's in you know, chiropractic school and all this kind of stuff. And why are you picking a fight with me? Why are you screwing up my YouTube channel, Haleigh? And you know, look at the thumbnail on this thing. It's on. I think if somebody knows where a stake president is, maybe she'll find out from the courts of love what the church is really about, because she's basically gone against what the brethren have had to say on modesty and the PR here, anything to get a view. I mean, like finances, sex life. And then she's in there on this video from today, she's going, well, you know, my husband's so stressed out, I just can't get him to have sex with me more than once a week, and I don't know why I can't get him motivated, and even if I dance in front of him naked, it won't do any good. But we watch TV together. I don't know. I mean, they both have problems. But is that the kind of thing you'd want your wife, guys, talking about on the internet? Broadcasting? Mothers, your daughters, fathers, your daughters? I don't know. I mean, I don't understand why I guess she's so desperate to try to get YouTube views that she'll talk about things in their personal life that seem extremely personal. I guess nothing's sacred. So, I don't know what to say. Am I being too nice? I've tried to get her to respond multiple times now. So here, like was this today's? And here I am again. So I've been really patient, Haleigh, trying to be really nice, because you seem like a nice girl, and I really don't want to cause either one of us court costs. So in case you don't know how this works, I file some paperwork for free, and then you're going to have to throw down the money to take this to court, etc., etc. And once again, what I've done, you know, is fair use. So I don't know what your problem is. You said you got a struggling family. I understand what that's like. Normally get along with people that are into health and wellness. And what is your trip, you know? Just contact me. I'm really a nice person, although I can get upset with people that are really jerks to me, or others, or that are unreasonable and wicked. So anyway, I bet her stake president would be interested in some of the things she's had to say about the whole modesty thing, because she's telling people they don't need to be modest, and you know, there might be some teenage girls getting on here and watching this and saying, oh, she's a pretty mother, and she says we don't have to be modest, it's just after you get temple garments, and, you know, has nothing to do with keeping boys from getting excited. Now she says her husband doesn't get excited enough, and I can't solve that problem for him. Maybe Frank Thomas can. Anyway, if you like the eugenics commercials. I'm going to sign off here and get to work on the doctrinal stuff I was trying to broadcast at lunch. And yeah, if anybody wants to forward some stuff to her stake president, I guess I'm about up for it at this point, because I've kind of, tried to be really patient, and apparently Sermon on the Mount is beyond her scriptural scope of at least practice, and I don't know what to say. Maybe she's like these other Mormon shills that I give a really hard time to, that I haven't had any difficulty with, and I thought she was just an honest girl. Maybe she is. Maybe she's just kind of clueless and afraid. She actually mentioned on one of these videos that she's been getting mean comments, and I don't know. Does anybody consider mine mean? I have said that there are some doctrinal things you need to learn, but I've been nothing but nice. And when I looked at other people's comments, it's nothing like I see on like the PBS stuff, and they're usually directed between each other, between Christians and Mormon apologists generally. For the most part, sometimes other people that just, say things that are pretty brazen, but alrighty. Mormon standards, and lots to learn there. Religion, is it something we actually live in our daily lives, or, I don't know. Too much for me. I'll sign off here, and then I'm going to work on what I would have done at lunchtime if Haleigh hadn't reacted the way she did. Dodger game out. Oh, there's a Dodger game today. The playoffs. Hopefully I'll get to see some of it.